Hi, this is Marilena of Astrology.com. I hope you're enjoying this beautiful Friday, this beautiful Venus day. And on the topic of Venus, I've decided to film the next installment in my Goddess series. So today I want to talk to you about the Glyph of Venus, or the Mirror of Venus, which will also help us understand what this goddess signifies in astrology and in life. So I'm referring, of course, to the kind of glyph, the circle with the cross below. Now, as you can see, there are two parts that make up this symbol. One is the circle, which for example, if you think about the circle of Ouroboros, the snake biting its tail, it represents infinity, endless evolution and change, because it's an endless motion. But what it also represents, perfection and harmony, because the circle has no edges, has no sharp angles, so it's just continuous and perfect in its motion. So because of this, you could see the circle signifying spirit or heaven, or all the higher levels of existence. Also, you could look at it as what we use the circle for in modern life as well as in the past as well. And so if you think about it as a ring, it traditionally signifies the union of two individuals. But it also signifies possession and capture, if you look at, at other aspects of this. But yeah, as a minimum, you can see it as a union. So harmony, perfection, union, endless evolution, infinity, perfection. Also, if we just look at it from a purely astrological perspective, the circle is core to everything we do in astrology. So, for example, the ecliptic, which is the apparent movement of the sun in the course of 1 year, is circular. It is then divided into 12 sections, and then each section is assigned to a zodiac sign, but also that is taken to represent the 12 spheres of life that are signified by the houses in natal charts, in personal charts and Monday charts, in charts in general. The circle also represents planetary orbits, and interestingly, Venus has the most circular orbit of all the planets. And for that reason, her orbit was for a long time used to measure time, and then it was also used to measure the size of the known, of the solar system back in the 17th century. Fascinating expedition across the globe, uniting multiple countries and nations for the one goal of learning how big the solar system is. Circles are also indicative of planetary cycles. The most well-known one is the lunation cycle. So this is the coming together of the sun and the moon at new moon, and then the progression from new moon all the way to full moon, plus the intermediate phases, all relative to the sun. And eventually you go through the final, the final phase, including the balsamic and so on, and then back to new moon. So this cycle is well known. We see it every month. It's visible to us. It tells us that the moon is growing or diminishing depending on what phase it is. And that carries a certain significance. For example, they say, if you want growth, do something between the new moon and the full moon. If you want containment, do something between the full moon and the balsamic moon, so basically the next new moon. So there's a very specific energy associated with cycles. Now, as well as that, there's also, for example, the cycle of the other planets. And perhaps, this year you've heard about the cycle between Saturn and Pluto. These two giants, they have come together in Capricorn, and they're still pretty much in orb with each other, still in aspect. Now, whenever two planets come together, that's the beginning of a new cycle and the end of the previous one. So what we are witnessing still is the end of the cycle that started in the 80s. And we are now at the dawn, at the start of this new cycle, which will end in 34 years. So, you know, this is going to shape the next 34 years for us all. Another important cycle that's coming up is the one between Jupiter and Saturn. I am very excited about this, personally. It's going to be a conjunction in Aquarius. Now, Jupiter and Saturn come together in a conjunction every 20 years, and they usually really indicate the zeitgeist of society and of the priorities we have, and you know how we're going to progress at a social level, because these are two social planets. Now, for the last 200 odd years, this conjunction has always, with one exception, happened in Earth signs. Now, in December, we have the first conjunction in a continuous series of air sign conjunctions, the first of a long series that again will last 200 years. Now you can imagine this is absolutely momentous, and I will be doing another video on this later on. But suffice to say, there's going to be a shift of consciousness, moving from earth values to air value, which we can talk about in another video. Now, going back to the Glyph of Venus, what's the cross then? So the circle we've established is harmony, perfection, union, evolution, infinity, and spirit, perhaps. Now, the cross, on the other hand, indicates duality. So you have vertical and horizontal. And to me, this means like the union between time and life and time. So incarnation here. The meeting of spirit and matter, of heaven and earth, of the feminine and the masculine. It's the ebb and flow of life. This is more and more of our level, and then the circle, you could argue. But the Venus glyph brings them both together. So there is this element of spirituality and harmony and perfection. But there's also an element of being in this body, on this earth, right here, right now. And I think that's important to understand with Venus. Another important facet of Venus is reflection. So as you know, this glyph is called the mirror of Venus. And it has been used since the beginning. For example, there's a famous mirror of Hathor, which dates back to 1479, before the current era, and which was found in Egypt, where Hathor was the goddess of love, joy, and beauty. She was also a cow goddess, so often in the shape of a cow, by the way, Taurus. So, but it's always been associated with ornaments, potions, palettes, beauty, and they said that when you put on some jewelry or some makeup, you would embody the goddess. So you would somehow absorb her energy and become her reflection in the mirror. Now, so one thing that is that the mirror is also a symbol of what happens in Libra. So this is the point, after going through the various Aries, Taurus, and so on signs, Libra is the first interpersonal sign. This is the first place in the zodiac where we start thinking of the other. We become aware of the other. So in a way, the mirror symbolizes the person in front of the mirror, but also the person in the mirror. So it's two people coming together, two facets of the same person. Or it just symbolizes relationships, because there's two of you, and two of you with different, potentially with different meanings, with different values, and likes and dislikes. So I see this as relationships, opening up to other people, becoming aware of other people. And Libra is famously always looking at things from multiple perspectives. Typically, you know, the Libra can hold 2 or more perspectives on one topic at any one time, and will always try to accommodate, to bring together the two perspectives. So this is a slightly longer video than usual for me, but I hope that you found it useful. I want to talk about the Mirror of Venus in my next film, in my next video, which is on the retrograde. But for now, I'm really curious to hear. So if you look at the Venus glyph, what other symbology would you associate with this? What brings to mind? I'd really love to hear. I'm really curious, and if there's something that I haven't covered, please, by all means, add it in the comments. I'm absolutely interested to hear that. Okay, so this is the end of the video. I hope you stay healthy and strong as ever, and please enjoy this beautiful Venus day. Much love from Marilena. Bye.